the new biopic Michael hitting theaters early next year, the world is about to revisit Michael Jackson's story on a scale we haven't seen in decades. But long before Hollywood tried to capture his life, Michael had already built a surprising on-screen legacy of his own. From cult classics to blink and you'll miss it cameos, let's break down the 8 movies Michael Jackson was in, including roles most fans never even realized were him.
I'm Michael Jackson from the Jacksons.
I'm Homer Simpson from The Simpsons.
Movie 1, Moonwalker, 1988. When Moonwalker hit screens in 1988, nobody knew what they were stepping into, and that was exactly Michael Jackson's intention. This wasn't a traditional movie or even a standard music project. It was Michael unleashing a universe that operated on his rules, blending surreal comedy, sci-fi fantasy, and ambitious music-driven storytelling into one fast-moving experience. Every segment felt like a doorway into a different part of his mind, shifting tone and style so quickly that audiences couldn't look away. Critics didn't know how to categorize a project this bold, but fans instantly embraced it. VHS tapes were replayed, shared, copied, and treasured. Over time, Moonwalker evolved from a strange experiment into a global cult classic that still attracts new viewers decades later. Movie 2, The Wiz, 1978. Long before Moonwalker turned Michael into a cinematic force of his own, he stepped into the world of film through a project that quietly reshaped his entire future, The Wiz. Released in 1978, it reimagined The Wizard of Oz with an all-black cast, and Michael took on the role of the Scarecrow, a character that seemed innocent on the surface, but ended up becoming one of the most important turning points in his career. At just 19, Michael threw himself into the role with the same intensity he brought to music. He studied movement, learned new vocal styles, and pushed himself to act with emotion rather than just presence. Audiences loved him, but what mattered even more was what happened behind the scenes. It was on this film set that Michael met Quincy Jones, the man who would later produce Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad, the 3 albums that changed music forever. Michael would later describe The Wiz as the project that gave him confidence outside the Jackson 5 shadow, showing him he could be more than just a singer. It was his first taste of acting, character building, and performing for the camera rather than the stage, skills he would carry into every visual project he made afterward. And while The Wiz didn't break box office records, it opened a new door for Michael, one that led him toward a futuristic, groundbreaking film collaboration that felt like it belonged in an entirely different universe. A universe filled with lasers, spaceships, and a director nobody expected. Movie 3, Captain EO, 1986. If The Wiz showed Michael he could act, Captain EO proved he could command an entire cinematic world. Released in 1986 as a 3D sci-fi musical shown exclusively in Disney parks, this wasn't just a short film. It was the most expensive per-minute movie ever created at the time. And only Michael Jackson could pull together a team this outrageous. Produced by George Lucas, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, shot with cutting-edge technology, and built around a futuristic hero who used dance as a literal weapon. The 3D effects, laser beams, and in-your-face choreography were decades ahead of their time. Fans lined up at Disneyland and Epcot just to experience it, sometimes waiting hours for an 8-minute film. Disney executives later admitted that no other artist could have carried a project this experimental. Michael wasn't just performing, he was shaping the emotional core of the entire experience. And Captain EO didn't fade into obscurity. It became a time capsule of peak 80s imagination, returning repeatedly to Disney parks because fans didn't want to let it go. But years after this ambitious sci-fi adventure, Michael made a return to the big screen in a way nobody expected. Not as a hero, not as a dancer, but in a blink and you'll miss it cameo that became one of his funniest moments ever.
Movie 4, Men in Black 2.
By the early 2000s, Michael Jackson didn't need to prove anything to Hollywood, but he still knew how to steal a scene with just a few seconds of screen time. And that's exactly what happened in Men in Black 2. In a quick, hilarious cameo, Michael appears as Agent M, wearing a sharp silver suit, standing in front of a giant monitor and begging to join the secret alien policing agency. The moment lasts only a breath, but it became one of the most iconic celebrity cameos of the decade. What most fans never knew is that Michael personally requested to be in the movie. He loved the first Men in Black so much that he reportedly told the producers he wanted to be an agent. And not just any agent, but one with real authority. Will Smith later joked that Michael pitched pitched ideas enthusiastically, imagining himself as a full-time member of the MIB universe, blasting aliens while keeping his cool, soft-spoken charm. The scene plays on Michael's mysterious, otherworldly image in a tongue-in-cheek way. When he says, "I could be Agent M," the joke lands instantly, because deep down, everyone can picture Michael Jackson blending in perfectly with a team that deals with aliens daily. It's quick, funny, and perfectly timed. But Michael's cinematic journey didn't stop with major films. Around this time, he made a move that surprised everyone. A voice cameo that went uncredited, slipped past casual viewers, and became one of the most memorable episodes of one of the biggest shows in TV history.
Movie 5, The Simpsons.
What'd you say your name was?
Michael Jackson.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Well, have you heard of MTV?
Nope.
Motown.
No.
Beat It.
You beat it!
How about this?
But the kid is not my son.
Of all Michael Jackson's surprise appearances, none created more confusion, curiosity, and long-running fan debates than his uncredited role on The Simpsons. In 1991, the episode Stark Raving Dad introduced the world to Leon Kompowski, a soft-spoken man in a mental institution who calmly claims he's Michael Jackson. The twist? The voice actually was Michael Jackson, but his name never appeared in the credits. Because of contractual rules with his record label, Michael couldn't officially be listed as a guest star, so he did what only Michael could do. He slipped into the episode quietly, let fans guess, and turned a simple cameo into a pop culture mystery. He voiced Leon's speaking lines, playing the role with a subtle mix of innocence, humor, and that unmistakable MJ tone that fans picked up on immediately.
But here's the wild part. The singing voice in the episode wasn't Michael. He specifically asked for a sound-alike to perform the musical parts so he wouldn't break any contractual boundaries. That detail only fueled the confusion. People swore it was him, argued about it for years, and kept the episode alive in fan discussions long after it aired. The cameo became legendary, not because it was flashy, but because it was so perfectly Michael. Unexpected, playful, and cloaked in enough secrecy to keep fans talking for decades. And while this appearance was light and comedic, the next film he took part in was the complete opposite. Darker, heavier, and filled with themes that hit much closer to home. What came next was one of Michael's most ambitious artistic creations, a project that blended horror, drama, and raw emotion into a film fans still consider a hidden masterpiece. Movie 6, Ghosts, 1997. If there's one Michael Jackson film that deserves far more recognition than it gets, it's Ghosts. Released in 1997, this wasn't just a music video or a short performance piece. It was a full 40-minute cinematic story, co-written with Stephen King, blending horror, social commentary, and some of the most advanced makeup work of the 90s. And in true Michael fashion, he didn't settle for playing just one character. He became the maestro, the skeleton, and even the film's angry, heavy-handed mayor. Yeah, the very person trying to kick the maestro out of town. In other words, Michael played both the persecuted outsider and the man leading the witch hunt. The plot centered on fear. The fear society has toward people who are different, people who don't fit the mold, people who attract rumors simply for being themselves. It was a theme Michael understood deeply, and he poured that emotion into every frame. The maestro was powerful but isolated, kind yet misunderstood, and when the townspeople demanded he leave, the film exploded into a visual spectacle that pushed makeup effects, CGI, and choreography beyond anything music artists had attempted. The transformations, the mirror dance sequences, the floating skeleton, these moments weren't just technical achievements, they were metaphors. Michael was sending a message about judgment, fame, and the way society tries to control the people it fears. Despite its brilliance, Ghosts never reached mainstream success. It didn't get a wide theatrical release, and many fans didn't discover it until years later. But those who have seen it often call it one of Michael's most revealing artistic statements, a look into how he viewed himself and the pressure that surrounded him.